Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that constantly demands our attention, our time, and our energy, we often find ourselves overwhelmed, pulled in countless directions, and detached from our own truth. We have become experts in the art of distraction. But what if I told you that the most important journey you can take is one into your own solitude? Solitude is not to be feared. It is not a sign of weakness or failure. In fact, it is a necessary condition for self-growth, clarity, and authenticity. In our modern world, we're taught to be busy, to be surrounded by others, and to avoid moments of quiet reflection. But it is in those moments of aloneness that we find our true selves. When you are alone, you are forced to face yourself unfiltered and without the comfort of external validation. This is where the opportunity for real growth lies. We cannot grow if we do not first look inward. It is in solitude that we begin to recognize our own patterns, our weaknesses, and our hidden strengths. But it's also in solitude that we meet our fears, our insecurities, and our vulnerabilities, parts of us that we often ignore or hide from when we are around others. Solitude does not mean isolation, it means connection to yourself. It means taking responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, and your life. It is the recognition that, in the end, you are the one who shapes your destiny. No one else can do that for you. You cannot outsource your self-reflection. You cannot outsource your growth. The modern world offers us endless distractions, social media, entertainment, work, and a myriad of external pressures. But these distractions are often an escape from the discomfort of facing ourselves. When we fill our lives with noise, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to grow in the quiet. The noise drowns out the whisper of our conscience, the quiet voice that speaks to us when we sit alone. In solitude, we learn resilience. We learn that we are capable of managing our emotions and thoughts, not by seeking external reassurance, but by confronting them within ourselves. We build strength, not through the support of others, but by standing firm in the face of our own challenges. And in this solitude, we develop a deeper relationship with ourselves. We stop depending on others to define our worth. We stop looking for validation outside, and instead we begin to validate ourselves. We become our own refuge, our own source of strength, and ultimately we build a foundation that allows us to relate better to others. To be authentic is to be true to who you are, and that authenticity is discovered in solitude. When you are alone, you shed the masks and roles you wear to please others, and you uncover the deepest parts of yourself. In those quiet moments, you realize what truly matters to you, your values, your purpose, and your truth. So I ask you, when was the last time you were alone with yourself? When was the last time you took a step away from the noise to truly listen to your own thoughts, to confront your fears, and to embrace your own truth? It is only in these moments that you can become the person you were always meant to be. It is only when you can be alone with yourself that you can truly begin to live. In our increasingly connected world, solitude is often viewed as a negative state, a condition to be avoided at all costs. We live in an era where distractions are never far away. Our phones, social media, and the constant pull of work and social commitments keep us surrounded by noise, interaction, and stimulation. For many, the idea of being alone, truly alone, is uncomfortable, even frightening. Yet there is a profound power in solitude that we must learn to understand and embrace. Solitude is not just about being physically alone, it's about disconnecting from the external world in order to reconnect with oneself. When we are constantly immersed in the presence of others, it becomes easy to lose sight of who we are and what we value. We may find ourselves adopting opinions and beliefs that are not truly our own, influenced by the voices of family, friends, or society at large. In solitude, there is an opportunity to step away from the noise and examine ourselves in a way that is impossible when we are constantly being bombarded with external stimuli. The first and most important aspect of solitude is that it gives us the space to reflect. In a world where we are constantly moving from one task to the next, it can be difficult to find the time to stop and think. Yet, it is through reflection that we gain clarity about who we are, what we want, and why we do the things we do. Without this reflection, we are simply moving through life on autopilot, driven by the habits and expectations of others, rather than by our own conscious decisions. Solitude forces us to confront ourselves, to look inward and examine our own thoughts, behaviors, and desires. This process of self-examination is crucial for personal growth, as it allows us to identify areas where we may be falling short, or where we are perhaps not living in accordance with our values. It also gives us the chance to explore our own passions, motivations, and dreams without the influence of external opinions or pressures. When we are alone, there is no one else to impress, no one else to judge us. It is a space where we can be brutally honest with ourselves, and this honesty is the key to growth and self-improvement. Being alone also provides us with the opportunity to process emotions that we might otherwise avoid or suppress. When we are constantly surrounded by people, it can be difficult to face our own vulnerabilities and emotional pain. We may distract ourselves with work, entertainment, or socializing, all in an attempt to avoid the discomfort of facing our inner struggles. But it is only when we are alone that we can truly feel and process our emotions. We can allow ourselves to grieve, to be angry, to feel anxious or sad, and then work through those feelings in a constructive way. Without the distraction of other people or external events, we are forced to deal with what is inside of us. In addition to the emotional benefits, solitude also provides the space for creativity and problem solving. When we are alone, our minds are free to wander and explore new ideas. There is no pressure to conform to the expectations of others or to fit within the constraints of social norms. We are free to think deeply, to make connections between seemingly unrelated ideas, and to come up with innovative solutions to the challenges we face. It is often in moments of solitude that our most creative thoughts and insights emerge, as our minds are free to explore without limitation. Finally, solitude offers a sense of peace and stillness that is increasingly rare in today's fast-paced world. In a society that values constant activity and productivity, moments of stillness can feel foreign and uncomfortable. But it is in stillness that we find the greatest clarity. It is only when we stop moving, when we stop seeking, that we can truly understand what we need and what is important to us. In these moments of quiet, we can hear our own thoughts clearly, free from the distractions and demands of the outside world. We can find the space to simply be, to exist without pressure, without expectation. Ultimately, solitude is not something to be feared or avoided. It is a gift, one that allows us to reconnect with ourselves and to grow in ways that are impossible in the noise and chaos of daily life. It is in these moments of solitude that we can find clarity, creativity, and emotional healing. It is in solitude that we discover who we truly are, and from this place of self-understanding, we can move forward with greater purpose, strength, and resilience. Self-reflection is often considered one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. It is in these moments of solitude, where we are free from external distractions, that we have the opportunity to look inward and assess our thoughts, actions, and motivations. Yet for many, self-reflection remains an underutilized practice, something we tend to avoid because it requires vulnerability and honest confrontation with ourselves. It can be difficult to face the parts of us that we'd rather keep hidden, but it is precisely in this honesty that we find the seeds for transformation. When we take time to reflect on our lives, we begin to see the patterns that shape our decisions and behaviors. We might notice that we tend to react in certain ways to stress, or that we avoid specific situations out of fear or insecurity. Without reflection, we might continue to operate on autopilot, repeating the same mistakes or continuing unhealthy habits without understanding why we do so. Self-reflection gives us the clarity to break free from these cycles because it provides the insight necessary to make more conscious choices. Through self-reflection, we come to understand our strengths and weaknesses more clearly. Often we are too busy to recognize the positive traits that we possess or the areas in which we excel. But when we take a step back and honestly evaluate our lives, we can see the things we are good at, whether it's in our professional lives, relationships, or personal development. Recognizing our strengths can boost our confidence, helping us to approach challenges with greater assurance. It also reminds us that we have the capacity to grow, to continue refining the things we are already doing well. At the same time, self-reflection brings our weaknesses to the surface. These are often the aspects of ourselves that we prefer to avoid, whether it's a tendency to procrastinate, a lack of emotional control, or unresolved fears that hold us back. In solitude, we are forced to acknowledge these shortcomings, not in judgment or shame, but as an opportunity for improvement. Self-reflection enables us to identify the areas of our lives that need attention, so that we can take proactive steps toward addressing them. One of the most powerful aspects of self-reflection is its ability to help us align our actions with our values. Many of us go through life without giving much thought to what truly matters to us. We adopt beliefs and goals that are influenced by society, family, or external expectations. We may chase success, approval, or material possessions without ever questioning whether those things truly align with our authentic selves. Through self-reflection, we can assess whether our actions are in line with our deeper values, and if they're not, we can begin to make changes. It's only by taking a pause to reflect that we can uncover what genuinely brings us fulfillment and satisfaction. Self-reflection also provides the opportunity to learn from past experiences. Instead of repeating mistakes, we can analyze situations where we felt we went wrong and try to extract valuable lessons. Perhaps we were too impulsive in a decision, or maybe we allowed our emotions to dictate our actions. When we reflect on these moments, we can identify what we could have done differently, what we learned, and how we can apply this wisdom moving forward. This process of learning from past experiences fosters a growth mindset, where every mistake becomes a stepping stone toward becoming a better version of ourselves. Moreover, self-reflection allows us to recognize our emotional and mental states, which is crucial for emotional intelligence. It gives us the time and space to understand why we feel a certain way, whether it's anger, frustration, sadness, or even joy. By observing our emotions without judgment, we can gain a greater understanding of our triggers and how we react to various situations. This awareness helps us build emotional resilience as we learn to manage our emotions more effectively, rather than being controlled by them. The more we understand our emotional landscape, the better equipped we are to navigate the complexities of life with a balanced, composed approach. One of the greatest gifts that self-reflection offers is the opportunity for self-compassion. Often we are our own harshest critics, dwelling on our shortcomings and mistakes without allowing ourselves any grace. But self-reflection enables us to look at ourselves with more understanding. It encourages us to view our flaws as part of the human experience, not as evidence of failure. We learn to forgive ourselves for past mistakes and allow ourselves the space to grow and evolve. In doing so, we foster a healthier relationship with ourselves, one that is based on kindness and acceptance rather than judgment and self-criticism. Self-reflection, when practiced regularly, becomes a foundation for ongoing personal growth. It's not a one-time activity, but an ongoing process of looking inward, learning, and evolving. It is through this process that we begin to uncover our true potential, shed limiting beliefs, and embrace the possibility of becoming the best versions of ourselves. Without self-reflection, we are like ships adrift in a vast ocean, lost without a compass or a clear direction. But with it, we find our bearings, we understand our course, and we can move forward with confidence, knowing that each step is rooted in the deeper understanding of who we are and what we are capable of achieving. To truly understand the value of solitude, it's essential to recognize that it compels us to confront aspects of ourselves that we might otherwise prefer to ignore or deny. When we are constantly surrounded by others, whether it's family, friends, or colleagues, we tend to operate in a way that masks our deeper thoughts and emotions. There's always someone else to focus on, someone else to interact with. And as a result, we rarely spend time facing our own internal struggles. Yet, it is precisely when we are alone that we are forced to meet the parts of ourselves that we often hide away our fears, anxieties, regrets, and unresolved emotional pain. These internal challenges can take many forms, but they often emerge when we are alone. In solitude, there is no escape, no distractions, no external noise to drown out the inner turmoil that we may have buried. Whether it's the fear of failure, the weight of past mistakes, or the discomfort of unprocessed grief, solitude has a way of bringing these hidden parts of us to the surface. When we face these demons, it can be a deeply uncomfortable experience. The vulnerability that comes with being alone with our darkest thoughts and emotions is not something most of us seek. It is, after all, much easier to distract ourselves with the busyness of life rather than face the painful truths within us. But in avoiding these aspects of ourselves, we only allow them to grow in power and influence. Our unacknowledged fears and unresolved pain seep into our behaviors, often in ways that we don't fully understand. We might find ourselves lashing out in anger when we are stressed or avoiding situations that trigger uncomfortable feelings. We may even settle for unhealthy relationships or patterns of behavior because we are unwilling to confront the root causes of our dissatisfaction. These inner demons, when ignored, continue to control us, shaping our lives in ways we don't consciously choose. Solitude offers us the space to address these challenges head-on. In the quiet, we can process the emotions and thoughts that we might otherwise repress. We can ask ourselves the tough questions: why am I afraid of failure? Why do I avoid certain situations or people? What is it that truly causes me pain? And why have I been running from it? These questions may not have easy answers, but by giving ourselves the time and space to explore them, we begin to understand the underlying causes of our struggles. This awareness is the first step in overcoming our inner demons. It is through the confrontation of our fears and pain that we gain the strength to move beyond them. Facing these demons in solitude does not mean that we need to fix ourselves immediately. The process of self-confrontation is not one that happens overnight. In fact, it often takes much longer than we anticipate, and it can require us to revisit certain painful memories or unresolved emotions multiple times before we feel we have come to terms with it. But the key is that solitude provides the environment for this necessary work. Without the constant noise and distraction of daily life, we can begin the process of healing, gradually integrating the pieces of ourselves that we may have once ignored. Moreover, solitude gives us the opportunity to develop self-compassion as we confront these demons. It's easy to be harsh and critical of ourselves when we face our flaws, especially when those flaws have caused us pain or disappointment in the past. However, solitude allows us to approach ourselves with more kindness. Instead of judging ourselves for our weaknesses, we can offer ourselves the same compassion we would offer a close friend who is going through a difficult time. It's only when we stop fighting against our own imperfections and accept them that we can begin to heal and grow. In many ways, facing our inner demons is an act of reclaiming power. When we confront our fears, regrets, and emotional wounds, we take ownership of them. Instead of allowing them to control us from the shadows, we bring them into the light where we can understand and manage them. Solitude offers us the rare chance to gain this control over our own psyche. It is a process of self-empowerment, because it is in solitude that we realize we have the ability to face, manage, and ultimately transcend the things that once held us back. It's also worth noting that this confrontation with our inner demons doesn't necessarily mean that we will rid ourselves of all our fears and emotional baggage. The process of healing and growth is ongoing, and some struggles may take longer to overcome than others. But solitude gives us the space to engage in this work without the pressure of external demands. It allows us to move at our own pace, to approach our inner challenges with patience, and to understand that growth doesn't happen instantly. By embracing solitude and confronting our fears and pain, we begin to see that we are more resilient and capable than we may have previously thought. Ultimately, solitude is a powerful tool for self-discovery and healing. It forces us to face the parts of ourselves that we'd rather ignore, but in doing so, it offers us the opportunity to truly understand and transform our inner world. It is only by confronting our inner demons that we can break free from their hold and begin to live with greater peace, clarity, and authenticity. Personal responsibility is one of the most empowering and transformative principles we can adopt in our lives. It is the recognition that we are the primary agents in our own existence, that our thoughts, actions, and decisions ultimately shape the course of our lives. In a world that often encourages us to look outward for solutions or to place blame on others, taking full responsibility for ourselves is a radical and powerful act. It is the foundation upon which self-growth and true empowerment are built. When we choose to take personal responsibility, we are no longer passive observers of our lives, we become active participants. This shift requires that we stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance or as helpless in the face of life's challenges. Instead, we begin to understand that we are capable of making choices, even in the most difficult situations. Every decision we make, whether it's how we respond to others, how we approach challenges, or how we manage our emotions, plays a significant role in shaping our reality. Taking responsibility begins with owning our actions and decisions. It means recognizing that we are the ones who choose how to behave, how to react, and how to interact with the world. While external events and other people may influence our experiences, we are the ones who decide how to respond to them. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we do have control over how we react and what we do next. This understanding gives us immense power because it places the responsibility for our lives firmly in our hands. Moreover, personal responsibility means accepting the consequences of our actions. Too often, people look for ways to deflect blame when things go wrong. It's easy to point the finger at others, to say that circumstances were out of our control, or to make excuses for why things didn't turn out as planned. But this mentality keeps us stuck. It prevents growth because it denies us the opportunity to learn from our mistakes. When we take responsibility, we acknowledge that we are accountable for the choices we make, and this acknowledgement opens the door to growth. We can learn from our failures, adjust our approach, and do better next time. Without taking responsibility, we miss the opportunity to become better versions of ourselves. At the same time, personal responsibility is not just about owning our actions, it's also about owning our thoughts and emotions. It means recognizing that we have the power to change our mindset, to choose how we perceive the world, and to manage our emotional responses. We cannot always control the external circumstances that trigger our emotions, but we can control how we process and express them. When we take responsibility for our emotional state, we stop blaming others for how we feel and start looking within to understand the root causes of our emotions. This level of self-awareness allows us to make more thoughtful decisions and to interact with others in a more constructive and balanced way. Another key aspect of personal responsibility is setting boundaries and protecting our own well-being. It means recognizing that we are responsible for taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. In a world that often asks us to prioritize others or to put the needs of the collective before our own, taking personal responsibility means acknowledging that our own health and happiness are not someone else's responsibility. It is up to us to ensure that we are nurtured and supported, and to take the necessary steps to care for ourselves. This could mean setting boundaries with others, saying no when we need to, and prioritizing our own needs over external demands. In doing so, we become better equipped to show up for others and to contribute meaningfully to the world around us. Personal responsibility also involves recognizing the importance of consistency and discipline. It is easy to take responsibility in the moments when things are going well, when life is smooth and easy. However, true personal responsibility is demonstrated in how we respond when times are tough, when challenges arise, and when we face adversity. It is in these moments that discipline and consistency become essential. Taking responsibility means showing up even when we don't feel like it, doing the hard work even when it's uncomfortable, and persevering through difficulties. It's the ability to stay committed to our goals, values, and principles even when external circumstances try to pull us off course. In solitude, we are often faced with the full weight of our responsibilities. Without the distractions of daily life and the constant influence of others, we are forced to confront the areas in which we may have been neglecting our personal responsibility. Solitude offers a space for honest self-reflection, where we can assess how well we are taking ownership of our lives. Are we taking responsibility for our choices, our emotions, and our well-being? Are we blaming others for our challenges, or are we looking within to find the solutions? In these moments of stillness, we can commit to taking greater responsibility for ourselves and for our lives, knowing that the power to change is within us. Ultimately, personal responsibility is about empowerment. It is about recognizing that we have the ability to shape our own futures, regardless of the external circumstances or challenges we face. It is the understanding that we are not victims of life, but active participants who have the power to create, change, and grow. By embracing personal responsibility, we take control of our own lives, and in doing so, we unlock the full potential of who we are and what we are capable of achieving. In today's world, we are surrounded by an endless stream of distractions. Technology, social media, and the constant demands of work and social obligations ensure that we are never truly alone or disconnected from the outside world. While these distractions may seem harmless on the surface, they serve as a mechanism of escape. An escape from the discomfort of being alone with our thoughts, our emotions, and our own vulnerabilities. This constant noise and activity allow us to avoid facing difficult questions or emotions that we might not be ready to confront. However, it is in these moments of escape that we lose touch with our true selves. The danger of filling every moment with external stimulation is that we begin to lose our ability to sit in stillness and silence. The noise serves as a temporary distraction, but it also prevents us from achieving the kind of deep introspection that is necessary for personal growth and self-awareness. Instead of confronting our inner struggles or addressing the difficult emotions that we may have been pushing aside, we drown them out with the constant hum of activity. Whether it's scrolling through social media, binge-watching TV shows, or keeping ourselves busy with work, these distractions can become a coping mechanism that keeps us from truly understanding ourselves. What we often fail to realize is that these distractions come at a cost. By avoiding solitude, we deny ourselves the opportunity to reflect on our lives, our decisions, and our true desires. The longer we engage in these distractions, the further we drift away from our authentic selves. We may begin to act out of habit, responding to life's challenges in ways that are driven by external pressures rather than internal values. We may chase after goals that we've been told are important, without ever questioning whether they align with what we truly want in life. The distractions provide a temporary sense of relief, but they ultimately keep us from answering the most important question of all: who are we when we are alone? Moreover, the distractions of modern life often create an illusion of connection. Social media, for example, presents an image of constant interaction, where we can maintain relationships and stay connected with others at all times. But this connection is often superficial. We can have hundreds of friends online, yet still feel isolated and disconnected in real life. The constant sharing of curated moments can make us feel as though we are part of something larger, but it often leaves us feeling more alone than ever. In these moments, we might realize that we are surrounded by people, yet still feel disconnected from ourselves and the world around us. In addition to the emotional toll, these distractions also rob us of the ability to build mental and emotional resilience. When we are constantly distracted, we never allow ourselves to sit with difficult emotions or face challenging situations head-on. Instead, we look for quick fixes, whether it's a dopamine hit from our phone or a mindless escape through entertainment. This prevents us from developing the skills necessary to cope with life's inevitable struggles. Mental resilience, which is built through confronting adversity and working through difficult emotions, is weakened when we constantly avoid facing the hard truths that arise in solitude. Furthermore, the distractions of modern life make it difficult to develop a strong sense of self. When we are constantly looking outward for validation or approval, we lose sight of who we truly are. Social media encourages us to compare ourselves to others, to measure our worth based on external metrics, such as the number of likes, followers, or comments we receive. This fosters a sense of dependence on others for our self-worth, rather than cultivating an internal sense of value. We start to define ourselves by the standards and expectations of the world around us, rather than by our own beliefs and desires. The more we fill our lives with distractions, the more disconnected we become from our true essence. In contrast, solitude offers a powerful antidote to this constant distraction. When we spend time alone, without the noise of the outside world, we are forced to confront ourselves. We must face our own thoughts, our own fears, and our own fires, and our own desires. This can be uncomfortable, but it is also essential for growth. Solitude allows us to reconnect with who we truly are, free from the influence of others. It gives us the space to explore our own thoughts and emotions, to reflect on our actions, and to question the choices we've made. This introspection is necessary if we are to live authentically and make decisions that are aligned with our true selves. Moreover, solitude fosters self-reliance. When we remove the distractions and the external noise, we are left with only ourselves. We can no longer depend on the approval or validation of others to define our worth. This is where true empowerment lies. When we are alone, we are forced to rely on our own inner strength and wisdom. We become less dependent on the external world and more in tune with our own desires, values, and beliefs. This self-reliance fosters a sense of confidence and independence that cannot be shaken by the fleeting opinions of others. Ultimately, the constant distractions that define our modern lives prevent us from truly understanding ourselves. They offer a temporary escape, but they do not allow us the time or space to reflect, to heal, or to grow. In order to live authentically and make meaningful progress in our lives, we must learn to embrace solitude. By disconnecting from the noise and embracing stillness, we can begin to confront the difficult emotions, thoughts, and truths that we may have been avoiding. Only in this silence can we rediscover who we truly are and take ownership of our lives, free from the distractions that have been clouding our judgment. Solitude is often seen as a void, a barren space where nothing significant happens. In a world that prioritizes productivity, activity, and constant connection, the idea of being still, being alone, and allowing ourselves the space to think deeply can seem foreign or even uncomfortable. However, in the stillness of solitude lies one of the most powerful opportunities for personal growth and creativity. When we are alone, without the distractions of other people's needs or opinions, we find a unique space to explore the depths of our own minds, to reconnect with our inner selves, and to spark creativity that might otherwise go unnoticed. In solitude, our minds are freed from the constraints of the outside world. Without the constant pull of social obligations, external pressures, or the noise of daily life, we are able to think deeply and clearly. This space offers us the ability to break free from the patterns of conventional thought and consider new ideas, new perspectives, and new solutions. In moments of stillness, our minds can wander in ways that are impossible when we are constantly bombarded with external stimuli. It is often in these moments of quiet reflection that we have our most profound insights, moments of clarity, or breakthroughs. Creativity flourishes when we allow ourselves to be free from interruption, when we let go of the need to conform to the expectations of others, and when we trust our own thoughts and instincts. Many of the world's greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators have recognized the power of solitude in fostering creativity. It is no coincidence that many creative minds seek out periods of solitude in order to do their best work. Whether it's writing, painting, music, or any other form of artistic expression, solitude provides the space for focused attention, for experimentation, and for exploration. It is in these quiet moments that ideas are allowed to develop organically without the pressure to conform or to meet the expectations of others. Creativity is not a linear process, nor is it something that can be forced. It emerges naturally when we are allowed to sit with our thoughts and give them the time and space to evolve. In solitude, we can tap into a wellspring of creativity that is often buried beneath the noise of everyday life. Moreover, solitude fosters the kind of deep thinking that is necessary for solving complex problems. When we are constantly surrounded by people or distractions, our minds are only able to work at the surface level. It is easy to become reactive, to address problems in the moment. But true problem solving requires a deeper level of contemplation. Solitude provides the opportunity to reflect on a situation from multiple angles, to consider all possible solutions, and to evaluate the potential outcomes without external influence. In moments of quiet, we can step back and gain a broader perspective, enabling us to approach challenges with greater insight and creativity. In solitude, we can allow our minds to process information at a deeper level, helping us to make more informed, thoughtful decisions. Beyond creativity and problem solving, solitude also provides us with the time to reconnect with our own desires, passions, and values. In the busyness of life, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters to us. We can become so focused on meeting the expectations of others, on fulfilling our obligations, or on achieving external goals that we forget to listen to our own inner voice. Solitude gives us the opportunity to rediscover what brings us joy, what motivates us, and what we truly care about. It offers a space for us to explore our own values without the influence of external opinions. In this space, we can gain clarity on our purpose, align our actions with our authentic selves, and make decisions that reflect who we truly are. When we are alone, we also have the chance to recharge and restore our energy. Life can be exhausting, especially in a world that constantly demands more of us. We are expected to be constantly productive, constantly engaged, and constantly available. This leaves little room for rest and rejuvenation. Solitude provides an opportunity to step away from the constant demands of life and to focus solely on ourselves. Whether it's through meditation, deep reflection, or simply taking a break from external responsibilities, solitude allows us to recharge our physical, mental, and emotional energy. It is in these moments of rest that we can restore our sense of balance, gain perspective, and return to the world with renewed strength and clarity. Additionally, solitude offers us the ability to cultivate a deeper relationship with ourselves. In a society that values external connections, it is easy to overlook the importance of our inner connection. Being alone allows us to tune into our own thoughts, emotions, and desires without the influence or distraction of others. In solitude, we can learn to listen to our own needs, to understand our motivations, and to develop a sense of self-awareness that is essential for personal growth. This deep connection with ourselves fosters self-trust and self-respect, enabling us to make decisions that are in alignment with our true desires and values. When we are in tune with ourselves, we become more resilient, more grounded, and more capable of navigating the challenges of life. Finally, solitude allows us to process emotions in a way that is often difficult when we are surrounded by others. Life can bring about a range of emotions: joy, sorrow, frustration, excitement, and it's easy to bury or suppress these emotions when we are constantly engaged with the world around us. Solitude provides the space to feel and process emotions fully, without judgment or distraction. It allows us to explore our feelings, to understand their origins, and to work through them in a healthy, constructive way. In solitude, we can practice emotional regulation and develop a deeper understanding of ourselves, which ultimately leads to greater emotional intelligence and resilience. In essence, solitude is not a void, it is a fertile ground for growth, creativity, and self-discovery. It offers us the space to reconnect with ourselves, to explore our inner thoughts and desires, and to tap into the well of creativity and insight that resides within. In solitude, we can cultivate a deeper relationship with ourselves, recharge our energy, and gain the clarity needed to navigate the challenges of life. It is in these quiet moments that we are able to hear our own voice, trust our instincts, and create a life that is truly authentic to who we are. In our modern world, filled with constant noise, distractions, and a never-ending barrage of external influences, it is easy to forget the importance of boundaries. We are taught from an early age to be generous, to prioritize the needs of others, and to constantly push ourselves in the pursuit of success. While these values are admirable in many respects, they often come at the expense of our own well-being. We give, and we give until there is nothing left to give. The idea of setting personal boundaries, emotional, mental, and physical, can feel counterintuitive in a world that demands constant engagement and participation. However, it is through setting and respecting our boundaries that we protect our inner peace and maintain our sense of self. Boundaries are essential for preserving our energy and emotional health. Every day we are faced with countless demands from the people around us, family, friends, co-workers, society at large. Each demand requires a piece of our time, attention, and emotional energy. While it is important to be compassionate and to help others when we can, we must recognize that we are not inexhaustible resources. Without boundaries, we risk becoming depleted, exhausted, and overwhelmed. Setting boundaries is an act of self-care that helps us manage our energy and avoid burnout. It allows us to recognize our limits and communicate them clearly to others, so we can protect our mental and emotional well-being. Setting boundaries also fosters respect. When we establish clear boundaries, we teach others how to treat us. Without boundaries, we often end up allowing others to overstep, whether it's taking on too much at work, tolerating mistreatment in relationships, or giving away our time and energy without regard for our own needs. The absence of boundaries can lead to resentment, frustration, and feelings of being taken advantage of. When we set boundaries, we signal to others that we value ourselves and that we expect to be treated with respect. Boundaries are not about building walls or shutting others out. They are about creating a space where healthy, balanced relationships can thrive. In relationships, whether personal or professional, boundaries are crucial for maintaining a sense of autonomy. Healthy boundaries allow us to be our authentic selves without being overly influenced or controlled by others. They give us the space to maintain our individuality, to pursue our own goals, and to nurture our own well-being. When we don't establish boundaries, we risk losing ourselves in the process of trying to meet the expectations of others. This can lead to feelings of resentment, confusion, and a lack of fulfillment. Boundaries provide us with the clarity to distinguish between our own needs and desires and those of others, helping us create relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding. Moreover, boundaries are essential for personal growth. When we set limits, we create the space necessary for self-reflection and self-discovery. Without boundaries, we can become so consumed with the demands of others that we lose sight of our own values, goals, and aspirations. In order to grow, we need time and space to explore our own thoughts, to challenge ourselves, and to pursue our personal development. Boundaries allow us to prioritize our own growth without feeling guilty or selfish. They give us the freedom to say no to things that don't align with our values or that hinder our progress. Through boundaries, we create the conditions for our own self-empowerment. At the same time, setting boundaries is an act of emotional intelligence. It requires us to be aware of our own needs, limits, and feelings, and to communicate them effectively with others. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear confrontation or rejection. However, the inability to set boundaries often stems from a lack of self-awareness or a fear of disappointing others. When we lack clear boundaries, we may find ourselves saying yes to things we don't want to do, simply to avoid conflict or to please others. However, this leads to a depletion of our energy and emotional resources as we neglect our own needs in favor of others. By developing the emotional intelligence to recognize our own limits and communicate them assertively, we create healthier, more balanced relationships and preserve our own well-being. Setting boundaries also involves our understanding that we cannot control everything, and that we must learn to let go of things beyond our control. In life, there will always be challenges, difficult people, and situations that test our limits. While we can't control these external factors, we can control how we respond to them. Boundaries allow us to protect our emotional and mental space by setting limits on how much we are willing to tolerate. This does not mean shutting ourselves off from the world, but rather acknowledging that we have the power to decide how we engage with the world. Boundaries empower us to choose what we allow into our lives and what we choose to let go of. Furthermore, boundaries are vital for mental health. In a world where we are constantly plugged into the demands of modern life, it is essential to set limits on our time and energy. Constant engagement, whether through work, social media, or interpersonal relationships, can lead to mental fatigue and burnout. By setting boundaries around our time, our activities, and our relationships, we create space for rest, reflection, and renewal. This practice of mental self-care is crucial for maintaining our emotional resilience and overall well-being. In the absence of boundaries, we risk becoming overwhelmed, overstressed, and disconnected from ourselves. Finally, setting boundaries is an act of personal empowerment. It is a recognition that we are worthy of respect, care, and consideration. It is a declaration that we value ourselves enough to protect our energy, time, and emotions. When we set boundaries, we affirm that we are in charge of our own lives and that we are capable of making decisions that honor our needs and desires. Boundaries are not a sign of weakness, but a powerful tool for creating the life we want to live. By setting and maintaining clear boundaries, we cultivate a sense of inner strength and self-respect that allows us to move through the world with confidence and authenticity. In our increasingly interconnected world, it's easy to fall into the trap of relying on external validation. Social media, professional accolades, and the approval of friends, family, and colleagues can all become powerful drivers of our sense of self-worth. The constant feedback we receive from the outside world can create a feeling of connection, but it also has the potential to diminish our ability to find value in ourselves without seeking approval from others. This external validation, while sometimes motivating, is ultimately fragile and transient. Our true sense of self-worth must come from within. When we look to the outside world for validation, we risk allowing our self-esteem to be dictated by factors beyond our control. For example, we might base our sense of value on how many likes we get on a social media post or how we are perceived by others in a work environment. This dependence on external validation creates an unstable foundation for self-worth. External opinions and feedback can change quickly, and we can find ourselves riding a roller coaster of highs and lows based on the opinions of others. When others approve of us, we feel confident and worthy. When others criticize us or ignore us, we feel diminished and unimportant. This cycle of dependence on external validation can leave us feeling anxious, insecure, and ungrounded. To cultivate true self-worth, we must shift our focus inward. True self-worth comes from a deep, intrinsic understanding that we are valuable simply by being who we are. It is not dependent on the approval or recognition of others. This shift from external validation to self-validation is crucial for personal growth, resilience, and long-term emotional well-being. When we validate ourselves from within, we no longer rely on the opinions of others to feel good about ourselves. Instead, we find confidence in our abilities, our values, and our unique identity. Self-validation is a practice of self-awareness. It requires us to become more attuned to our own thoughts, feelings, and needs. By taking the time to reflect on our experiences, we can develop a deeper understanding of who we are and what we stand for. This process of self-reflection helps us to separate our sense of worth from external judgments and to recognize the inherent value we possess. It allows us to accept ourselves as we are, flaws and all, without needing to change or conform to meet the expectations of others. Self-validation is rooted in self-compassion. It involves acknowledging our strengths and weaknesses without judgment and treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend. This practice of self-compassion is key to building a strong, resilient sense of self-worth. Another essential aspect of self-validation is learning to trust our own instincts and decisions. When we constantly seek validation from others, we undermine our ability to trust ourselves. We second-guess our choices, doubt our judgment, and look to others for reassurance. But true confidence comes from the ability to make decisions independently, trusting that we have the inner resources to navigate life's challenges. When we trust ourselves, we can move forward with a sense of conviction, knowing that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. Trusting ourselves also means embracing the idea that we are the best experts on our own lives. No one else has the same insight into our thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and as a result, no one else is in a better position to determine what is best for us. Self-validation also involves setting boundaries that honor our needs and desires. When we constantly seek validation from others, we may be more likely to compromise our values or overextend ourselves in order to gain approval. But by setting clear boundaries, we communicate to ourselves and to others that we value our time, energy, and well-being. Setting boundaries is a powerful act of self-respect. It enables us to protect our sense of self and to prioritize what is truly important to us, rather than constantly seeking external validation. Additionally, the practice of self-validation requires that we stop comparing ourselves to others. In a world where comparison is so readily facilitated by social media, it can be difficult to avoid measuring our worth against that of others. However, comparison is a surefire way to undermine our self-esteem. Each person is on a unique journey with different experiences, challenges, and strengths. When we compare ourselves to others, we ignore the uniqueness of our own path and undermine the value of our own accomplishments. Self-validation requires that we focus on our own progress and growth without being distracted by the successes or failures of others. It means celebrating our own achievements, no matter how small, and recognizing that our worth is not determined by how we stack up against others. To build true self-worth, it's important to take ownership of our lives and our choices. We cannot rely on others to define who we are or what we are capable of. When we take responsibility for our actions, our decisions, and our lives, we reclaim our power and our sense of agency. We no longer wait for others to tell us we are worthy, we know it ourselves. This sense of ownership gives us the strength to face challenges with confidence and to take risks without fear of judgment or failure. When we are grounded in our own sense of worth, we are not easily swayed by the opinions of others. We can pursue our goals with determination, knowing that our worth is not contingent on external success or recognition. Ultimately, self-validation is the key to living a fulfilling and authentic life. When we rely on others to validate us, we are at the mercy of external forces that are beyond our control. But when we validate ourselves, we take control of our own sense of worth. We become more resilient, more confident, and more capable of navigating life's challenges. Self-validation empowers us to live in alignment with our true values, to pursue our goals with conviction, and to create the life we truly desire. By learning to validate ourselves, we create a stable foundation for self-esteem that cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. In conclusion, the importance of solitude and the ability to embrace stillness cannot be overstated in a world that constantly demands more from us. By carving out moments of solitude, we allow ourselves the space to reconnect with our inner selves, to reflect, and to cultivate creativity, clarity, and resilience. In solitude, we can escape the distractions of the world, face our emotions, and grow in ways that would not be possible if we remained constantly engaged with the external noise. Similarly, setting healthy boundaries is essential for preserving our mental and emotional well-being. Boundaries are not walls, they are acts of self-respect that protect our energy and foster balanced relationships. They allow us to prioritize ourselves and our own growth without feeling guilty or selfish. Boundaries are an affirmation of our worth and a commitment to living authentically. Together, solitude and boundaries provide the foundation for a life of purpose, self-discovery, and fulfillment. They are tools that help us navigate life's challenges with greater clarity, resilience, and peace of mind. In a world that pulls us in countless directions, we must remember that it is not selfish to take time for ourselves. It is a necessary practice for staying grounded, preserving our well-being, and unlocking our full potential. Only when we are in tune with ourselves can we truly show up for the world in a meaningful and impactful way.